Live right here on SportsGrid, it is Betting Above the Rim Pro Basketball today on the heels of another excellent NBA Finals game between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, as the Thunder have tied this series up at 2 games apiece. Kevin Walsh with Tom Vecchio and Coach James Young for the next 2 hours as we try our best to go through what has been an excellent series that is evened up, yet the prices telling a different story. We'll talk about all of the movement that was, but JY, you and I were together last night previewing this basketball game. Felt like OKC needed it. They got it. We've got ourselves an even series through 4.
And it was really a tale of almost 2-3 different games. It was the first quarter that was extremely high-paced. You had teams combining to go, I think, 18 of 19 from the free throw line. Really high scoring, 69 total points. You thought, we were 125, 122. Here we go. And then the game kind of got to a halt. And what you saw out of OKC, and Kevin and I were talking on the drive-in this morning, is this is starting to look like the Denver series a little bit, right? Big favorite, game 1, Oklahoma City. Lose at home. Blowout, game 2. Game 3, questionable decisions, lose down the stretch, and then grind out a game 4 win. So now, Tom, we have the best of 3 series lined up. And honestly, Indiana may have another punch left, but the book's saying that they think it's over.
Yeah, they don't. And I have to say, this is something that we spoke about and we largely agreed on, that a lot of people coming into the series were like, oh, this is OKC 4-0, maybe 4-1. But we were in the 4-1 to 4-2 kind of camp, and that's what we have here, at least a minimum. Because I said coming into the series, my favorite bet was over 5.5 games, which is now what we have secured. So I am happy about that. It wasn't some massive price. It was plus 106.
A winner in the minimum. You can't ask for more than that.
It wasn't some long shot, but we were definitely on board with Indiana having a much better chance compared to what the general betting consensus thought to have had with the minus 700 series price. I would say it was a really interesting game last night because, again, it started off insanely fast. At one point, I saw the live total up to 238.5, and I was like, that is insane for where we started the series and what the pregame number was. Obviously, things changed dramatically as we closed out the game. What we saw, I would say, overall was relatively consistent with what I anticipated, but it really just paints a picture of what we are expecting.
So, to your point, before the series, bet OKC 4-2, OKC 4-3. I thought that who the Indiana Pacers are, I understood why OKC was such a sure thing to win. I just thought this would go a little longer. The incredible thing is, as we entered the fourth quarter of last night's game, the series was essentially pick. The Pacers up 7 with a chance to go up 3-1. If they won that basketball game, would have been minus 150 or so to win the championship. There still would have been a lot of respect put OKC's direction, but instead they lose that quarter by 14, and now Oklahoma City is minus 590, the biggest number since the pre-series. So this is a bigger number than when the series was 1-1 with a lot of runway left, and I think the big reason for that is when the series was 1-1, the Pacers had home court advantage and 2 going to their building. Even if we see a game 7, 2 of the 3 remaining games are in Oklahoma City. The question then becomes a lot about how did OKC do it? How did they get themselves this victory? And the short answer, Coach, the defensive side of the basketball, holding the Pacers to 17 fourth-quarter points 6 times in these playoffs. The Pacers have had a quarter of under 20 points. Think about how many games they played, how many quarters that is. That's incredibly impressive. They have a very high floor. But only 2 of those quarters have happened in the second half. It's an offense that gets better as the game goes on. And it was the first time, Coach, they did not score at least 20 in the fourth quarter all postseason long. The Thunder's defense stepped up with their season arguably on the line.
It stepped up on the line. If you really took it, I'm going to be more specific. Their defense at the three-point line is what won them the game. Folks, they were 5 of 10 from 2 Indiana in the fourth quarter. it's the fact that they were held 0 of 8. So when you get into that fourth quarter and you get guys like Naismith, who is usually a big shot guy, fourth quarter, big shot that he hit, he goes 0 of 2. Miles Turner had a game, I do believe in game 2, where he knocked down a couple of threes, or maybe it was game 1 in the fourth quarter in that comeback. He went 0 of 2. Halliburton, we talked about him making big shots. He goes 0 of 3. So you go 0 of 8 from the free throw line, and then you commit 10 fouls. So at the end of the day, it was the defense of Oklahoma City, but the ability of SGA to draw contact, draw fouls, get to the foul line, get 8 free throws. I mean, Aaron Naismith had 2 points and 3 fouls in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, that's wild. Like 3 fouls in the fourth quarter. He took 3 shots, had 3 fouls. Not really effective use of his minutes on the floor with 11 minutes and 16 seconds. So to me, it was the defense and it was SGA who would look tired and exhausted in game number 3 in the fourth quarter. Played 11 minutes, 12 seconds, looked really good in the fourth quarter of this game. But the key is, and I always talk about this with star players, is fourth quarter, you get to the free throw line. There's about a 20-second delay before the first shot. There's 5-6 seconds between the second shot. You get your rest and you get your points.
Yeah, and that's definitely, I don't want to say the entire turning point of the game, but as you said, the Pacers' offense is one that generally gets better as it goes, as the game goes on. And, you know, we've seen that time and time again. And also, I would say they get better as series go on.
Yeah.
And granted, the first 2 series weren't super long for them. You know, take it for that what it is. But for me, it really comes down to this is the peak of the Thunder defense of what we saw from them. And at a certain point, I'm concerned that the Pacers defense won't be able to match it as objectively, this was a horrible offensive game for the Thunder.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Just absolutely terrible.
Well, the three-point shooting was insane in 2025.
Sure. Even whether it's a preseason game, a regular season game, postseason game, 3 of 16 is absolutely insane. So if the Thunder defense is this good right now and their offense was horrible and they still won the game, what are we going to be expecting if their offense does at least find some regression to the mean? We're not even talking about having an amazing offense. Even if they just shot average, like we're talking about, they would have won this game by 15, 20 points.
And I think it's not just that. It's the fact that as a coach, you're looking at a team that had 11 assists on 37 field goals. That's awful. Like, that's basically you got sucked into playing one-on-one basketball.
Yeah.
And it's basically like Indiana did everything right defensively, and they couldn't shut the door. Now you got OKC, who may have started to figure out their defense, and it's not going to give you this bad of an offensive performance again. The question now becomes for Game 5, which Kevin and I talked about also before. I just can't lay that number because Indiana's going to find a way to hang around. So Game 5 could be another opportunity where it could be a live betting scenario where if you can time the OKC run, that's when you jump in. That's where you can get a win.
And we'll have plenty of time to discuss Game 5 lines and potential options that will be on the board. But I think for Indiana, and this is the thing with this series, and the numbers back it up, so much of the prevailing notion from people was, man, let me tell you, Pacers win this game, they're winning the title. And again, I don't know, part of me was like, congrats, you said the team that's up 3-1 is going to win the title. It was the same exact people that if the Pacers lost Game 5 would have been like, well, they better win Game 6. It's like, thanks. The odds tell us that as much as OKC needed to win that game, the Pacers needed it even more. And it makes for a really interesting series now moving forward where the Pacers, the only way they get any credit, it's not hanging around. They have to be up in the series for people to believe they have any chance to actually get the job done, books included in that sentiment. What did we see from the stars, from the coaches, and from these teams through 4? We'll talk about it all right here on Betting Above the Rim.
Right now have awoken. Maybe they are the best team out in the West because a rooting interest for me, Tom, always the Mariners. Hey, they're finally getting the hitting back, but now that's starting to slide.
we can make the case for the Rangers. They shore up some things. A team that the Rangers, you and I were both very high on coming into the season. They make a shot for the wild card. But I do think it's going to be a two-team race between the Astros and the Mariners, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't, but yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say yeah, I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
A 2-2 NBA Finals that has just been an absolute treat. And I do believe it is somewhat ironic, and this is the length I want this conversation to go. But everyone like, the ratings, what are we going to do? Is anybody going to watch? And it's just like, oh, yeah, it's the best finals that we've seen in arguably like a decade. It's been an absolute, whoa, what's wrong?
Best finals we've seen in a decade.
What's your huge, oh, that's my favorite finals. I can't believe Kevin's disrespecting it.
I would say Cavs coming back.
Yeah, that's around a decade ago that happened. Or did you think that was like 2 years ago?
No, I knew when it was. I mean, we're approaching a decade, sure.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a decade, okay.
All right. Okay. So your big issue was I maybe went 9 years instead of potentially 10?
Maybe.
All right, only on Vecchio Grid. It's been an excellent finals. It absolutely has. And there's so many different things you can sink your teeth into. But I'll tell you, one thing we enjoy is when you have one of the very best players in the world show up, game number 1, show up big time, game number 2. And then game 3, it's like, whoa, 24. League MVP, best scorer, hold on, I need a little bit more. What do you have for me? Maybe season on the line, game 4. First quarter, not good. Second quarter, better, not good enough. Third quarter, okay, gaining steam a little bit. What do you have for me maybe with the season on the line, down 7? A 15-point fourth quarter, a 35-point performance. I'm sure Shea bothered by the 0 assists. I will say, though, if your team is going to shoot 3 of 16 from 3, not going to be a lot of assist opportunities finished, probably, for SGA. When we go through this series and where we sit right now through 2, you're watching Shai Gilgeous-Alexander step up in a massive, massive way. In just 4 games, he has 3 games in his finals career of 30-plus points. That is a list that of active NBA players only has 8 other guys on it. LeBron, Durant, Steph, Kawhi, Giannis, Kyrie, Clay, shout out Devin Booker. Ooh. If he scores 30 again, the list of active players to score 30 4 or more times in the same final series is just LeBron, Durant, Steph, Giannis, and there would be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander getting into that spot. one of the best scorers, JY, the league has seen in a while, and that aspect of his game has translated to the postseason and the finals in particular.
Yeah, and I think he's done it in different ways. And I think what was so amazing about last night is when you look at how the game is coached. I'll give Mark Daigneault credit.
Okay.
Took him out for about 1 minute in the fourth quarter. If you look carefully, and thank God for Tom Vecchio over here, because he showed me this popcorn machine, which is like, I'm like Orville Redenbacher right now looking at this bad boy. But to me, like, looking at it and saying, like, yeah, SJ went absolutely off in the fourth quarter, but it was that minute rest that he got where Daigneault's like, and coaches do this sometimes, hey, I'm giving you a minute, get your you-know-what together, because I'm going to ride your ass like Seabiscuit the rest of the way, because I need you to be that superstar. And for him to go that way the rest of the day, the rest of the game, and give you what he gave you, you have to give Mark Daigneault credit for. We talked about this, and if you remember, Kevin, when we did, I think it was game 1 of Detroit Knicks. We were on afterwards. Remember, they took JB took Cade out, and I'm like, whoa, no, you don't do this here. You're down 5, and the Knicks got on that run, and they kept rolling. Daigneault took a chance with a minute, got him a blow, and then when he came back, he was the best player on the floor, Tom.
And honestly, I don't want to get like too nerdy with that, but the TV timeout, we're talking probably 5-6 minutes of rest, actually. It's not just literally just a minute.
And that's a big thing that people don't realize is as a coach, you look at rest time in minutes and not in rest time of minutes played.
So the point is, like, SGA is shaping up to be the Mariano of the Midwest. When he comes in, we got 3 for 3 field goals. He hit a 3 in that time. He's also 5 for 5 from the free throw line. So it's like, this has to be the best player in the world. Go get me some buckets. This is I don't want to say a season-defining, series-defining, stretch of 6 minutes, but it really was.
Oh, it was.
Yeah. I didn't want to over-exaggerate, or career-defining. That would be an exaggeration.
I don't even know if it would be, Tom.
Really? I mean, I'm saying
MVP,
series MVP goes on. Like,
listen.
Maybe it's a little too headlining just to be like, oh, this was a series.
Don't be scared of it.
Okay.
Dude, if he wins Finals MVP and League MVP in the same season at the age of, 26, 27?
That is career-defining, yes.
With what's in front of him?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
More titles.
And how young that team is.
So maybe I took my foot off the gas a little bit. He was unbelievable. Like you, that has to be the closer you need to have, and that's exactly what he was.
But a performance like that down the stretch where your season's on the line, forget the League MVP, the Finals MVP. Now you could say, they win this out. Now the best in the world comes into play where you can legitimately say, he's the best player in the world. His team was down 2-1. It was, rubber meets the road. We need you to make plays. You get your rest, carry us home. We can't get assists. We can't score anywhere else but you. You have to take us home. That's where the best in the world conversation can come into play now.
And I'll make this point. He played similarly to how he did in the fourth quarter of Game 3 against Denver, where I was so bothered because he was like, it's Shea time, baby. No matter what's going on.
Williams was hot, and they didn't go to jail.
And it didn't work. He did it again. The difference is it worked. And he just kept getting bucket after bucket. Now, I will say, I am sure Carlisle has sent countless videos to the league of this because it's one thing if everyone's like, Shea gets all the calls, he's going to the line. It's another thing while he's simultaneously getting calls and throwing the defender off of him. But it is everything you want to see from a guy of this level with an opportunity to win his first championship. And I think you're right to give Daigneault credit, JY. For the first time, maybe all postseason, Rick Carlisle, I have a couple of questions. We'll see what Coach thinks. Certainly Tom as well. Next on SportsGrid.
Right now have awoken. Maybe they are the best team out in the West because a rooting interest for me, Tom, always the Mariners. Hey, they're finally getting the hitting back, but now that's starting to slide.
we can make the case for the Rangers. They shore up some things. A team that the Rangers, you and I were both very high on coming into the season. They make a shot for the wild card. But I do think it's going to be a two-team race between the Astros and the Mariners, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't. But, yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here. He'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Rick Carlisle. First time all postseason, maybe. I have some questions. Maybe I'm wrong. That's fine. Let's see what the gentlemen think. Now, I guess let me go back a second. 5 most memorable things from these playoffs. I'm going to argue to the end that the J.J. Redick playing the same 5 guys for an entire half is inside that top 5. I'll never get over it. With that said, Rick Carlisle could have used like an inch more of the J.J. Redick stuff, I feel, because when we look at the win yesterday for OKC, a lot of people understandably talked about the close to the basketball game, where in the final 4 minutes, they really only made 1 field goal, which was a Halliburton layup. I think the bigger issue for the Pacers up 7 is how quickly that gap was closed. The game was tied within the first 4 minutes of the quarter. I know that Tyrese is not playing, the 45 minutes sometimes you'll see it from a superstar, but Halliburton finishing with 36 minutes, Pascal with 35 minutes, a +1 for Tyrese, a +7 for Pascal, but a 7-point loss on your home floor. JY, am I off base here, or maybe was this a spot where Carlisle didn't go for it enough?
You got to, in a game like this, where you got a team down, that first 4 minutes of the fourth quarter is proving to be vital. And if you look closely, I know Halliburton didn't have a great third quarter, but you pulled him and you got him about 2 minutes of rest late in the third. And then he played the last possession of the third. And then you pulled him back out to start the fourth. And you went with your Naismith, McConnell, Nembhard, Obi, Pascal lineup, in which a team was just about to fire defensively. You can't have TJ McConnell in there in that spot. You can't. And to me, if I'm Tyrese, I look at Carlisle and I say, you got me 2 minutes and 20 seconds of rest. I came back in for 1 possession to end the third, and then it's immediate timeout to end the quarter, which is another 2.5 minutes. I have sat 4, I'm going to say, counting, like stoppages, I probably sat 5 to 6 minutes of real time and played 20 seconds. There's no reason why he should have started the fourth quarter on the bench. He should have been in the lineup. You remove McConnell, you go with him and Naismith and Embiid, and you go with Obi and Siakam, which is essentially your starting five, because Miles Turner can't get to 4 rebounds. Sorry, that's a story for another day. But to me, in that spot time, you got to go with, if you got a team on the ropes, especially when you're the underdog, and this is home court now leaning, you got to ride your big fish to the final, and he should have started with Tyrese Halliburton to start the fourth quarter.
It feels a little light. You know, the 36, it should be 40. It should be 40 and 38 kind of feel. But and again, it's just from the control perspective of the game where you don't want to see that 7 points wither away. And it came quickly, right? It was gone very quickly. So, like, they're out there. We control the possession one more, to be a one extra bucket out of it. So we don't see it dissipate. We still have a 2-point lead. Like, those are things, because coming into the series, we talked about, like, man, we could talk about SGA. Yes, he's the best player, star for star. He's the better player. We talk about the bench. But like coaching, I think we are firmly on board with saying, like, Rick Carlisle is the better coach in this scenario. So we're checking those boxes. Like, I want to take, like, half that check off because there's some concerning things. Like, he still is the better coach and has a far better track record. But it's like, is he getting a little gun shy of, like, the stars at home kind of thing? And that has me concerned. Because when it comes down to it, Game 4 is the chance for the Pacers to strike, and I think they may have lost it.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. I feel as if, look, I think they're still. I'm not sure Daigneault is. I'll put it to you like this: after this postseason, I have no idea if Daigneault's a good coach.
We got questions.
Like that, and that's probably nuts. But like, he has not been very good. And Carlisle could easily turn and go, I put Tyrese in at the 9:30 mark. I didn't set him until the 7-minute mark, okay? And we got to lead back up. You know, it wasn't as if it was tied and then it was runaway. And then, and again, he would probably win that back and forth. It then, for me, Pascal, here's my problem with Pascal. It's not his fault. I just know that if you ask people right now, hey, who's been the Pacer MVP, Pascal or Halliburton, there would be some people who would say Pascal, and that is going to bother me forever because it's been Halliburton and it's not been close. We'll be right back here. We're live with you talking the NBA Finals on SportsGrid.
Have awoken. Maybe they are the best team out in the West because a rooting interest for me, Tom, always the Mariners. Hey, they're finally getting the hitting back, but now that's starting to slide.
We can make a case for the Rangers. They showed some things. A team that the Rangers, you and I were both very high on coming into the season. They make a shot for the wild card. But I do think it's going to be a two-team race between the Astros and the Mariners, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't, but it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to back 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here, it is Betting Above the Rim Pro Basketball today. Tom Vecchio, Coach James Young, Kevin Walsh with you on this Saturday morning. Game 5 will be Monday night. Of course, coverage on SportsGrid will be with you all the way up until that basketball game and throughout on In-Game Live. I'm going to go to you first, Tom. Bet, angle, number, movement, floor's yours. Something you're looking for with Game 5 a few days away.
Well, immediately I would say I would love to take a live number on the Thunder, obviously better than what it currently is. I don't want to be laying 9.5, but that may never come. I mean, I would love to get a 3 or 4 on the Thunder if the Pacers get off to a hot start. But outside of that, because it's a market that is yet to be materialized, OKC team total over 116.5. Shot horrendous, especially from 3. Now, in the game overall as a team, 47%, that's fine. But 3 of 16, just the volume of threes was low. The percentage is, again, terrible. They'll be back at home. They got to come out firing, and that's what I expect. So as of now, 116.5 over for OKC is where I'm looking.
For me, it's got to be about the start because as momentum has been snatched away from you, I think the first quarter for Indiana, if they're going to win this series, I think I know this sounds crazy. They're not going to win Game 7 in OKC. So they got to get Game 5, which means they need a quick start. They need a really good start. And I went to this for Game 3, same number. I'm jumping back onto it in Game 5, and that's Tyrese Halliburton over 4.5 points in the first quarter at plus money.
I was there too.
He's got to show me something, and he's got to get off to a good start. Because I think that becomes critical for them and what they need to do. So over 4.5 points in the first quarter is something I'm looking at. And then, if you want to parlay it, because we've kind of went after him a little bit, Pascal Siakam minus 146 over 4.5 points. I need if we're going to be in this game, and maybe this game may go up and down a little bit. And Kevin, talked about this. We talked about this last night. And if I remember, Kevin said, if Game 4 goes under, Game 5's going over. To quote Kevin Walsh. So if he thinks that, still, I think that you got to get 10-plus points from those two. So either over 4.5, or there's something that they put out there to see, Halliburton and Siakam, 10-plus points in the first quarter. That's something I want to jump on if it comes out.
Yeah, so I can't wait to bet this total. Except I am waiting because maybe it'll keep dropping. This was, when Tom and I had the conversation last Saturday, and I said, or maybe it was even Game 1, I was like, I hope you're right.
Oh,
because that will be the opportunity. And this is the thing, your OKC team total pick. I agree with everything you said. My only thing is, are you sure you want to leave the Pacers out of it? With the fact that this Indiana team has not been held under, let's call it 110 to keep it simple, in consecutive games this postseason.
It's like, I don't want to say like you can be right on both.
Yeah.
And this is in reference to you talking about the game total. I'm talking about just the Thunder team total.
Yeah.
I think they both can be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I would have more concern with the Pacers.
But do you see a 120 to 98 type of game on the board? Not hey, my final score is
16,
this.
So if they go over 116, they would.
Yeah, because I don't think you're expecting to inch past the number,
no,
right?
So if they go over the Thunder, that is go over 116.5. If they get to, let's say, 118, let's keep the math simple, and then the Pacers are at 100, we are going over the number comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think both can be true.
And that, to me, is, again, why this number is going to be incredibly tempting. And that's why, we can talk about it later. Here's where I'm at, though, in terms of where the series is right now. I entered the series saying to myself, the Pacers could win a road game, just one, and they could win 2 of 3 home games, right? So far, they've checked a box. They went right, so maybe they can win Game 6. They can't win the series, though, was really my thought coming in. And also there's no way they win again in OKC. The one thing that's changing for me a little is the way they won Game 1. I wonder if that almost is its own separate thing. Like, if we win a game like so against the Knicks, right? They won that game on the road, the crazy game. They won in MSG again. They won the crazy game against the Bucks, was at home. The crazy game against the Cavs, they won 2 other games in Cleveland. I am not telling you that I am picking the Pacers to win this series. But again, and this has been true the whole way, should the Thunder be favorites? Yes. Am I willing to grab the Pacers right now at plus 430? Not really. I don't need to, but it is too big a number. They are not dead. The Thunder have not. I feel as if how I felt during the Denver series has helped me a lot in this series, because I was the guy who walked up to every Denver game, and you guys both kindly laughed at me, and you should have, like, oh, the Thunder are going to win this game by 28 points. And it's like, oh, they lost again. Or, oh, they won and did not cover again. And I think a lot of people elsewhere are going through that with this series. I think a lot of people out there are, every time the Thunder step on the court against the Pacers, expecting them to win by 15 plus. I don't expect that. I really don't. I would be pretty surprised that, like, people are like, hey, you think this is probably going to be done in 6 now? Why are they winning 3 straight against this Pacers team? That would be pretty stunning based on what we've seen.
I would agree with you. I would always say that the Thunder are probably going to win, but I don't like them to necessarily cover the number. Like again, we were on board with the Pacers winning 2 games. So I always thought they had a puncher's chance in this series. I never expected to be blowouts. I know a lot of people did. The Thunder are just going to win by 20 points every game. That's obviously not the case. I think both things can be true. The number that is currently being posted for the Thunder at minus 590 is crazy, right? That is, I think, is far too much. Yeah. And that number suggests that they have been in control the entire series, when that's very clearly not the case. Now, could you say outside of a Halliburton, miracle shot in game 1, they could be up 3-1, and that number would be appropriate. But I think it's both things can be true. It's like, what kind of story do you want to tell yourself? Do you want to tell yourself that, like, this number's insane, and they literally should not be minus 590, but I'm also maybe not enticed at plus 430 for the Pacers. Both things can be true.
I think with me, I think Oklahoma City may have learned some stuff from the Denver series. That's why I think they're more prepared for this moment. I think the other thing that comes into play with Indiana is this will be the first time of uncharted territory, meaning Game 5 against Milwaukee, up 3-1. Game 5 against Indiana, against Cleveland, 3-1 on the road. Knicks, 3-1 on the road. This is 2-2. This is now the uncharted territory for the Pacers.
It's true.
Do I want to lay the 9.5? Absolutely not. Because every time you think they're dead, they got like 9 lives. Every time they're dead, they come back.
Right.
So to me, I think it's foolish for you to think, oh, I'm just going to lay the 9.5. If you think you're going to lay the 9.5, then you're probably to Tom's point or to Kevin's point, just take the over. Just take the over, because it's not going to be a 105-95 game. It's going to be a ton of points scored. To me, if you want to take OKC, you let Indiana throw their punch. They're going to keep it close for a while, and then at some point in the second half, whether it's the fourth quarter or third quarter, OKC turns it on, and that's where you jump in, and then you get OKC at a better number, probably early in the second half.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really fun to watch play out. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to pause the finals for a second. Let's talk a little bit about, I think, what is still, for the time being, considered the greatest Thunder of all time. That would be Mr. Kevin Durant. For now, what his next move could be with you here on SportsGrid.
Right now have awoken. Maybe they are the best team out in the West, because a rooting interest for me, Tom, always the Mariners. Hey, they're finally getting the hitting back, but now that's starting to slide.
We can make the case for the Rangers. They shore up some things. A team that the Rangers, you and I were both very high on coming into the season. They make a shot for the wild card. But I do think it's going to be a two-team race between the Astros and the Mariners, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't. But, yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Next chapter. Remember the Players Tribune article?
My next move.
Yeah, man. What a nightmare of a decision that was. I don't care what anybody says. I'll always be right about that. Though, to be fair, relative to his other moves and the success he's had at those stops, I guess that makes the Warriors one look a little bit better. Kevin Durant is who we're talking about here on the show, because Kevin Durant, and what I actually think, and I don't know, this people probably... I actually think it's been an under-discussed story, at least during the season. Kevin Durant is one of the, let's call it, 15 greatest players ever and 15 best players currently in the league. And around February, we were like, yeah, he's getting traded. Was nearly traded in season to the Warriors, declined the trade to stay on the Suns, who missed the play-in, and is now so gone. I don't even know if he requested a trade or if the Suns don't want him anymore. I have no idea what's going on in that capacity. We've just known KD would be on a new team for the longest time. We've been trying to figure out who that team is going to be. We've heard reporting from Shams Charania of ESPN. The list seemingly comprises mainly of 5 teams. Spurs, the Rockets, the Timberwolves, Knicks, Miami Heat. That list is maybe shrinking as the days go on, where the Knicks don't seem to feel super in the race. Minnesota seems to be gaining as the favorite, which at one point looked to be the San Antonio Spurs. There's a lot here. I'll go to you first, Tom. What do you make of the current Kevin Durant sweepstakes?
I think it's a good way to put it.
All right.
So, mid-season, when he declined the trade to the Warriors, right, my thought then, which I guess was maybe more like in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, he declines that because the West is difficult, right? It's just like he doesn't want to beat, because there's still years left on the contract, right? It's not like he's an impending free agent.
Right.
So my thought was, you know what, maybe, like, he doesn't want to go to the Warriors, like, the Thunder are there. The Timberwolves are always tough. Like, Jokic is still there. It's like, maybe he just waits till after the season. Like, hey, if you can get to the East, it'll be a lot more open. And it'll just, from a winning perspective, the chances there. Now, after the playoffs are coming to an end, plus the Tatum news, obviously, which didn't happen back in February with the Tatum injury, the East looks immensely open. So I'm looking at it of like, hey, the East actually may be the spot to go. It was like kind of like a nugget in my brain. I'm like, now it actually does really seem like, hey, if you want a shot to just get to the finals, I think the path forward in the East is far easier. Now, the Knicks may or may not be in there. They have enough of their own problems to worry about coach. They need a coach. But from a money perspective, the Miami Heat makes some sense. I think they just fundamental from a contract perspective. I think they do. And then, the Raptors are always a team in the mix for Giannis from a money perspective. I don't know if KD wants to go there, but they seem to have the puzzle piece to fit. So I would say the East is the route he should be going. And while it may fit fundamentally as Minnesota needs a score, they need a second score, I think it does fit. I don't know if the West is the spot to stay.
Well, I think one thing to realize, folks, is number one, Kevin Durant is going to be on an expiring contract next year. So the leverage and what Phoenix can ask in return goes marketably down. 2, why KD may not want to go to the Knicks. I honestly don't know if KD would want the pressure of going to the Knicks, because it's just like the head coaching search. Because I think KD's controlling some of the narrative of where he wants to go. He already said no to the Knicks years ago when he went to Brooklyn. I don't think Kevin Durant is a guy that wants, I think I don't want to say his ego will be bothered if he goes to New York and he fails, but it could. So I don't think that there's a play. So if you're eliminating that, and then if you look at the contract and not of both Houston and San Antonio not giving up a ton, to me it probably makes sense that it's Minnesota because of, number one, the affinity that Ant Edwards has for him. 2, can you find contracts to move over to them? That makes more enticing to me than him going to a place like New York. Miami's intriguing, but we hear Pat Riley's been trying to get a guy for 8 years and he hasn't got a guy. So maybe not Miami.
So I can't tell you why the Knicks aren't the front runners. So maybe that I shouldn't then say it's definitely not about the pressure, but I can't imagine it's about the pressure. Because one, here's the thing with KD. He's a multi-time finals MVP. He's a league MVP. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a multiple-time Olympic gold medalist. I don't think the Garden is going to bother him because I also think the Garden would adore him. Because let's be realistic. Sorry, Jalen Brunson. Knicks fans have been dying for a player as good as Kevin Durant to put on a Knicks uniform. Go back to the decision. You want to know why? Ready, a little behind. One of the reasons I'm such a LeBron guy is back when I was in high school, I was defending LeBron so much more because I went to high school in New York, and no one hated LeBron more than Knicks fans because they were convinced he was going to the Knicks. They've wanted that guy forever. You thought it'd be Melo. Whoops. Stoudemire. Huh? And then you love Brunson. Everyone loves Brunson. They love Brunson so much. And again, respectfully, I think we can agree in terms of star power, status. JB is not KD. That's okay to say. When KD and Kyrie went to Brooklyn, it was a slap in the face to the Knicks. It just was. It's all there for him with Tom's incredibly accurate points about the East. Because if KD goes to the East, there will be an argument if Giannis went West. He's the best player in the conference. Not one I'd make, but I know some would. And yet, he's going to go to Minnesota to pair up with a young emerging guard who's made deep playoff runs. Oh, you mean Devin Booker? What's he leaving for then? Just figure it out in Phoenix. It's so weird that the Minnesota are the favorites for Kevin Durant. Where am I? What is going on? This is odd. I will not accept this as normal. No, not going to happen. We'll try and figure this out a little bit more. Plus, is Giannis just a buck now? No problem.
or have awoken. Maybe they are the best team out in the West because a rooting interest for me, Tom, always the Mariners. Hey, they're finally getting the hitting back, but now that's starting to slide.
We can make a case for the Rangers. They shore up some things. A team that the Rangers, you and I were both very high on coming into the season. They make a shot for the wild card. But I do think it's going to be a two-team race between the Astros and the Mariners, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't. But, yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're live with you right here on SportsGrid, and I know I may sound like a bit of a maniac breaking down Kevin Durant, but I'm a little confused. That's all. I also have no idea what the Minnesota trade is. I guess Rudy Gobert is going to be a Sun. I don't know.
From a money perspective, that's what you would want it to be.
Like,
give Naz Reid a full-time starter.
But if you were the Suns, right, and you're like, hey, listen, KD, we're going to trade you, all right? But, like, you're going to the Rockets. It's a much better return for us. I don't know. I'm not trying to be naive, but I still feel as if the Rockets or Spurs, just based on what they could potentially give Phoenix.
What would the Rockets give up?
Well, here's the thing. They don't really like Jalen Green.
Yeah.
So that's on the board. I saw a report that mentioned Jabari Smith Jr. As a possible option, and I believe they had the 10th overall selection. Okay. So some combination.
And then a future pick of some sort.
Right. And the Spurs, obviously, with the 14th pick, Vassell, I don't think it doesn't look like number 2's on the board or anything of that nature, but I don't really see the Minnesota package, and I'm still somewhat hesitant that Kevin Durant's putting out a full-on, full-court press to get to Minnesota. That's the KD piece of it.
Okay.
The Giannis piece of it maybe factors in because if you're Houston, if you're San Antonio, you might say, I'm not trading for Kevin Durant. I'm waiting for Giannis. The vibe right now, though, Tom, is those teams are going to have to keep on waiting. Giannis just won't press the escape button as it pertains to Milwaukee.
And what did he tweet the other day? Something along the lines
of missed Woj?
He tweeted something like, let's get back to it, or something along the lines of talking about Memphis. So I don't know the exact verbiage, but he tweeted something like, let's get back there, which would imply, he wants to stay. And, a part of it, again, tie back in this Tatum news, like the East is open. Yeah. It is a winnable conference. Now, you could say that the Bucks certainly did not look good this year. And with the Dame injury, there's going to be a lot. They need to have other players step up massively, which we can certainly talk about. For me, it comes down to the same take I've had about Giannis, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, is the same take I'm going to have now. Is he wants to be held in a high regard in that city, and he doesn't want to demand a trade.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be the guy listen, I brought you a championship. You drafted me when I was a teenager. I grew up in this city. I live in this city. I brought the championship, but I don't want to be viewed in a bad light, exiting the city because I am demanding a trade to be out. But he's like, hey, if I could leave, that'd be great for both of us. But the KD news does present a wrinkle because there are teams vying for both of them, and if no one's willing to pull the trigger, then this entire thing is just going to be held up in the air. And the draft is 11 days away at this point.
Yeah.
So it's all coming to a head right now.
Well, I think the thing about Giannis is when you look at, there's a difference between Phoenix and Milwaukee. The difference is at least Phoenix says we have Devin Booker. We have a young, in his prime player next to Kevin Durant. You're looking at Milwaukee and you're like, Dame is going to be 35 coming off an Achilles tear. Brook Lopez is a free agent, is as good as gone. Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, KP Jr. are all player options who are probably going to be leaving. Who are you looking at Giannis on that team saying, those are the guys I'm going to go to war with that's going to get me a championship? It's not there. So now you have to wonder is Giannis just saying, all right, I'm going to be content with my one ring and my one run where Monty Williams basically blew the entire series up 2-0, and you're never going to see NBA Finals again. You're never going to maybe see an Eastern Conference Finals again, or do you get out? I think he's trying to win, but do it with Milwaukee, and I just don't see how those two line up. But he's still the domino. So if you're Houston and you're San Antonio, I don't want Durant. I want Giannis. So I have to wait to get a clarity before we can move in a direction where we want to move to take that next step.
I think I don't know if defense is the right word. I would offer of Giannis. Okay, so I'm going to defend quickly. I would defend him in this way. Dirk went to the finals in 2006 with Dallas, right? They lose. Dirk gets back, 5-6 years later. Before maybe, I don't know, you do the math, okay? But he gets back, right? It's like, listen, maybe I'm not going to win next year or the year after that, but eventually we can do this again. Where it's annoying is it's constant, like, Giannis might want out, and I refuse that's everybody else's fault and not some blame pie on him. We'll be right back.
Have awoken. Maybe they are the best team out in the West because a rooting interest for me, Tom, always the Mariners. Hey, they're finally getting the hitting back, but now that's starting to slide.
We can make a case for the Rangers. They shore up some things. A team that the Rangers, you and I were both very high on coming into the season. They make a shot for the wild card. But I do think it's going to be a two-team race between the Astros and the Mariners, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't. But, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.